Good morning, and welcome to one of Improving's online webinars. I'm here today to talk to you a little bit about some of the ways that we at Improving have looked at being more productive and improving our ability to collaborate, even when we're in this new situation where we're not always in the same room together, side by side. So today we're going to be going over a few remote working tips, some tools, and some just kind of tricks of the trade to make sure that we're doing all we can do as workers to be productive and comfortable in this new environment that we're finding ourselves in. So to go over exactly what we're going to touch today on, first of all, I'm going to introduce myself a little bit. Then we're going to talk a little bit about personal productivity, how we as people can be productive day in and day out anyway. Then we'll talk a little bit about shifting that to the team productivity side. And then how do we collaborate when we're not sitting side by side like some of us are used to doing on a day-to-day basis. So to start with, I'm Jake. I'm Vice President of Consulting here at Improving in Houston. I am a husband and a father of 2 teenage boys, but more interestingly for this audience, I am a dedicated technical tinkerer. That's what I go to when I'm looking for something to entertain or occupy my time, is to find a new way to tweak and improve my productivity technically on my computer. And also really important for this conversation is that I am a personal introvert, but a work extrovert. I found over the years that I can no longer be that person that sits in a room and closes the door and hides away for hours at a time and builds software on my own. I have discovered the joy that comes from that collaborative environment. And now that we've hit this new situation where we do need to keep our distance sometimes, finding ways, I find that I've been missing some of that collaboration. So been working really hard to find the right ways to work together with my teammates, make sure that we're still collaborating and talking together in that situation. We're going to start by talking a little bit about personal productivity, and that is, how do we as people remain productive? What do we do to keep ourselves moving forward? It's really important, we've found, and with a name like Improving, you got to understand that continuing to set your professional goals and you're looking for how you're going to continue to grow personally and professionally, that shouldn't stop in this change in our environment. You need to continue to look for ways to sharpen your saw, to grow your skills, and to improve yourself throughout this time frame. Now, you're doing that right now, as a matter of fact. Congratulations, joining these kinds of webinars, seeking out those online opportunities to grow and learn are still going to be really vital to maintaining that growth and that productive mindset for you. You know, there's an old story about the woodcutter who was going to work every day, and first day he chopped down 10 trees, second day 9, then 8, then 7, then 2 by the end of the week. And you know, he came back and said, I don't know what's going on. Why can I not keep up the pace? And it's like, you got to take time every day to sharpen that saw. That's what we're trying to do, and that's what's important to our lives anyway as we continue to move. The next thing that's really important is to try and keep a real schedule. I know it's really easy these days. I know that the alarm clock, I have a love-hate relationship with that thing. I actually use a watch that has a silent alarm just so that I don't wake up my wife at the same time, because I am an early riser. And guess what? Right now, when it's time to work from home, it is really easy to decide not to do that. To decide, yeah, I'll get up when I get up. Nobody will notice that I'm not doing my thing at 5 in the morning anymore. It'll be fine. No big deal. But that starts to weigh on me as a person. It starts to change my mindset in this. So I have set my alarm every day. I still get up. I still get dressed. Now, I may not wear the exact same work clothes that I did every day. That's fair. That's fine. I'm wearing long pants today. Thank you. But I do make sure that I go through most of that same morning routine of getting myself ready to be in my work mindset, making sure that I know that I'm going to start my day, having the same breakfast that I do normally, making sure I go through my self-care routines and my beautifying, cleansing. That's all important to me. And it helps me to be sure to prepare for my day ready to go. It's really important that we continue our exercise, continue our stretching. Look, you may not realize how often that you get up during the day and walk around your office. You may not recognize how quickly that are, those times that you're getting up to go off and take a short walk to go pick up your lunch, or going to the coffee machine, getting another cup of coffee. And then when we're at home and we sometimes chain ourselves to that desk. We sit there and we forget the fact that normally we'd be getting up. We'd be walking over to another office to talk to people, while now we're instead just messaging them. So find times, figure out ways to get up, stretch, move around. That could be as simple as, making sure your coffee pot is in a different room and getting up and walking downstairs, grabbing the coffee and coming back, or a little bit more. Take a walk around the block, walk to the end of the street and back every once in a while. Those times when you feel like you have to take that break, step away to reconnect with your thoughts, those are important, and motion helps with that. So stand up, take a stretch, take a walk, get some sun, go outside. Don't just stay there locked in your little home office that is so comfortable because you built it for yourself now. Practice your social distancing. I get a little extra exercise when walking around the block now because I'm weaving from this side to that side to that side again, but do it. Get out there and make sure that you are engaging in the world around you. It can be really easy these days to just suck yourself in to one little area and lock yourself in there. And then stay engaged with other people. If you don't have people at home, find ways to engage through video chat. Make sure that you are talking and communicating with your colleagues, your friends, and your family outside of that room. It's really important, though, even for those like myself who is a personal introvert, it's still important for me to have those conversations. It's really too easy for me to sink down into my work and forget that the world's going on around me sometimes even a comfort, but it's worth it to reach out and check on people. We've been doing a lot of that at Improving with some virtual happy hours, virtual coffees, even arranging virtual games and things like that to maintain social distance, but have social connectivity. So let's talk a little bit about productivity and multitasking. I have found over the years, I used to think I was really good at multitasking, that I could do 2 or 3 things at the same time. I could easily shuffle and switch and do all of these things at the same time. And guess what? Research says that's wrong. A large body of that research has shown that unlike computers, we can't do that. Instead of thinking about 3 things at once, we're actually switching back and forth of them. So rather than trying to do my work and listen to a podcast, I find I'm forgetting about, and I'm not actually listening to that podcast, or I've stopped doing my work and I'm listening instead. And every one of those switches in context, every time you realize, oh, I forgot what they're talking about over there, or I forgot what I was in the middle of a conversation through chat here, you lose time, you lose productivity. So the real cost is it takes about twice as long to do what you thought you were going to do if you're trying to do 2 or 3 things at once. It also, beyond just taking longer, leads to more errors. You find that if you're trying to do both at the same time, you're going to go back and realize if you look at it later, you made some mistakes. The truth about it is that we have found that that multitasking and distraction actually causes more of an impact to your cognitive reality than the usage of marijuana. Hewlett-Packard HP here in Houston discovered that multitasking can cause a 10-point drop in IQ if you're trying to do that IQ test while listening to something else. We have diminished mental performance that, people who receive no sleep the night before the test. Like, how many of you guys have pulled an all-nighter and then tried the next day and slogged your way through that next day, pushing to get there? That's what multitasking can be to your productivity as well. We've seen this in the laws. The laws against cell phone usage while driving, those are there for a good reason. We've discovered that if you're texting or reading an email while driving, you are 23 times more likely to be involved in an accident. And I know that red light up there says green, go, yellow, be careful, red, check Facebook. But that's not the way we should believe it, because while you are distracted and looking down there, you are that much more likely to be engaged in an accident. And playing games while driving, they discovered 143 times more likely to be involved in an accident. Now, words with friends, it has to wait. Pokemon Go, very tempting while driving, but no, you can't do that. Multitasking while behind the wheel is more dangerous even than driving intoxicated. This is why the laws have been put into place, and they're there for a reason, and it's reflective of the fact that our brains really can't concentrate on more than one thing at a time. We have two levels of cognizance. We have that system one thinking, which is the reflective, just reflection, do what my reflexes tell me to do without thinking about it, and system two, which requires much more energy and effectiveness. If we're driving, we need to engage that system too, because the consequences are going to be dire. We should take that same thought process to our everyday lives as well, and look at how we are engaging in our activities as we do them. So I want to take a moment and do a quick exercise with everybody. I know this is a little difficult. Usually if you're in a room, we can all make sure that we're all doing it together, etc. But what we want to do is practice focusing on one thing for a short period of time. We're going to take about 45 seconds. Look at an item. So look around you, find something in your room. I have my AirPods case here. Figure out what you'd like to look at. We're going to take about 45 seconds, and we're going to truly look and think and reflect upon what object we've decided on. Maybe you have a drink. Maybe it's a cup of coffee, maybe it's a soda, maybe it's a cup of water. Take the time to take a taste. Think about how it tastes. Is it bitter? Is it sweet? Is the water mineral? Or is it very plain and very clear? Take 45 seconds with me or so now, and let's look at what we've got and think about it. Yeah. So I've had this set of AirPods for a while now, but I do like to have this little extra case on it. I'm not quite sure why, but it helps me to differentiate it. Looking at it, I realize it's a little dirty. That's kind of gross. Wow, it's been a while since I've cleaned those pieces. I don't like that. Also, when I think about it, I don't know why I've got this clip on it. I have never once clipped this thing to anything. It's just there to make it a little bit larger, I think. Makes me want to, I wonder if I should get rid of that. I'm not sure. Huh. Well, I hope by digging in and looking at something a little bit, you really examine what it is. You take a moment to think about why you utilize what you're using. What is it that's important about the task that you are currently engaged in that will help you to become more effective? So let's talk. A lot of us don't understand the difference between two words. A lot of us use them interchangeably. I did for quite a long time. There's two words, efficiency and effectiveness. And what was eventually explained to me that really sunk in is efficiency is making sure you're doing the right things, and effectiveness is making sure you're doing things right. There's a big difference and a big difference in power between those two different mindsets of how you approach something. Doing things efficiently, yeah, I did that. Ooh, I did that too. I took care of these things. I made sure it happened. But how often are you concentrating on being effective? How often are you concentrating on making sure that the thing you just did, you did correctly? You did to the best of your ability. You did so that when somebody else comes and sees that, they see it was done right, not just that it was the right thing to do. That focus, that thought and care that you put into doing something is going to increase that effectiveness and will help make sure that your productivity shines. Let's talk a little bit about a very important tool in a lot of people's lives, their calendar. I know for me, my calendar has become a very important part of my day. It's so vital to be able to see what I'm going to do, what's important, what my tasks are, etc. So how do you manage your calendar? You should treat that thing as a hard landscape. Now, when we talk about a hard landscape, that's that old joke again. If you're an airplane pilot, do you trust, and the map and the terrain are different, you very much should trust the terrain, not your map. That's the important part out of here. We'll treat your calendar as that hard terrain. Make sure that it reflects the reality of what your day is. It's very important to understand where you are and what you're doing at a constant basis. I spent a lot of my life loving being a technical firefighter, being the person that when problems arise, I can solve it. I can fix it right now. I'll jump in. I'll make sure that I do it. And having my calendar wide open to do that was invigorating. It was exciting, and it was very empowering to be the person that comes to me or to be the person that gets asked those tough questions and can solve them for everybody. But you find that if you do that for long enough, you're never moving forward. You're stuck still being that firefighter. You're stuck just being the person who solves the problems. So making sure that you take time to set aside proactive pieces of your calendar. Make sure that you're setting aside time to think about the future, to be prepared for the next big tasks that come up, to plan for next week, the week after, etc. That is what pushes you toward more productivity. That proactive mindset is going to be vital in making sure that you are doing the right things and being effective in your day, rather than just efficient and knocking down the tasks. Also, you should be empowered to say no. Right now, I tell you what, you're going to be getting a lot of meeting requests. You're going to be getting a lot of phone calls, a lot of incoming chats, a lot of things coming in. If you have your calendar and you understand what your landscape looks like, it gives you that power to say, oh, well, yeah, that's really important, you're right. But right now, I am involved in something even more important. Can I get back to you in an hour? Can I touch base with you later? Can we set this up as a real meeting in some of my free time later? It's really important to make sure that you keep some time in your calendar open for those pieces, but making sure that you understand and you have your day planned, you have your life arranged in front of you, can help you to make those decisions and to really, again, decide on what's effective for your time spent right now. Because guess what? We're all going to have our times being pressed day to day today. And then have your 2-week out rule. Look forward 2 weeks. Make sure you know what those next 2 weeks look like. Try to always have yourself a good runway of time. Now, that doesn't mean that you have to live by it day by day by day. It gives you the power to make decisions, though. It gives you that power to say, yes, I did have this blocked on my calendar today, but all right, I understand this is more important. Sometimes firefights do have to happen. Sometimes we have to solve the thing right now that just came up in front of us. Having your plan ahead of you helps you to make that trade-off and then push things for the future. It's really important to schedule those priority items there. Make sure that you put those places blocked into your time throughout the week. For me, every Monday morning, I set aside an hour to plan out my whole week, to make sure that my week that I plan for next time matches up with the current reality. That, okay, it's Monday. Last week I said I was going to spend, these 2 hours on Tuesday doing this meeting. Is that still real? Yes, it is. Okay, I better make sure I'm prepared for that. So planning out that time, putting up some priority times into your calendar that other people should be able to see as well, is going to help you maintain those pieces. And guess what? It's important to keep those appointments with yourself as if they were appointments with someone else. I tell you what, the first thing to fall down most of the time is going to be the appointment that you made with yourself. You decided to block that time out to be proactive. You decided that you needed an hour to prepare for this presentation. But, something really important. Somebody, Michael asked me a question, and I really, really value that. So I'm going to take care of Michael's problems right now, rather than mine. That's okay. But recognizing the fact that you are letting yourself down out of that, just like you would be letting Michael down out of that, is important to recognize in yourself. Make that trade-off. Recognize it and decide upon it. Because those time that you have set aside for yourself, that time that you've set aside to prepare for the future is important. And understanding that it really is important to you and to your colleagues, that will help change that. Give yourself some empty space in the calendar too. Don't book the whole thing up. I've made that mistake. I think I made that mistake today, actually. But you need to have some empty blocks in that calendar to manage those firefights, right? If your whole day is blocked out and you've got the entire time scheduled and a problem does come up, then you have to cancel something to fix that problem. You have to make that trade-off every time. But if you've got set scheduled time for those slack pieces where, okay, I'm open at this time, I can either pursue this or that, and then if a problem comes up right now, can I wait until 2 o'clock this afternoon? You want to have this discussion? Great, I have some free time today. I set aside some just now. Can we do it too? Can we make that meeting happen then? That gives you that flexibility to still maintain your commitments to yourself and others, but still have some openings for the rest. Automatic notifications, man, this is one of those things that can drain away your productivity so rapidly, it's shocking. Having the email notifications pop up, bing, bing, I'm sitting here trying to write some code. I'm a software developer by trade. If I'm sitting here trying to write code and my email pops up and says that, there's a new sale on Steam right now, I just multitasked. I just thought about that. Is that something that I want to go check out? Do I need to go chase those things down? Probably not right now. Turn off the email notifications for a while. Turn off the Facebook notifications that are coming on. Make sure that when you're actually focused on doing something, you have set aside the time to do that thing. I've made sure to turn off notifications from all my chats, from my text messages. I actually left my phone in the other room for this, just because I don't want anything to potentially draw my attention away from this presentation right now. Setting aside some time afterwards, taking those breaks to go check those will help too. So now that we've talked a little bit about personal productivity, how I and how other improvers have delved into making sure that we are being productive and consistent, how do we turn that to the whole team? How do we make our teams more productive? How are you as a team member, because almost none of us get to work in a vacuum anymore, how are you sharing that productivity with the rest of the team? One of the most important things is you've got to educate your environment. You've got to communicate what this means. You've got to talk to each other on how you are being productive. I'll tell you, it's a lot harder when we're not in the same room. I right now can't tell if anybody's paying attention to me or not, and that's tough. But when I'm working with my teams, and I do get to spend about half of my time working on software with teams directly, having that sitting in the same room, being able to look over and see that somebody is sitting at their desk, that makes me believe that they're actually working. Well, maybe they are, but checking the news. Maybe they're checking Facebook. I don't know for sure, but seeing them there, knowing that they are there, gives me that feeling of that they are being productive, that they are working. Now that we're not in that same room, how do we communicate that to each other still? How do we tell each other what's going on? How do we make sure that we're communicating that, oh, I had to step away for a few minutes, got to take a quick break, I got to get another cup of water, or I've got to go deal with this person who's knocking at my door. All of those things would be happening normally when we're sitting in the same room. But I tell you what, if somebody messages you and you've stepped away and they don't know that, it's a very different feeling for them than if they saw you get up and walk away. So making sure that we as a team talk about what our expectations are, how we're going to communicate during our remote work, that's going to be vital to make sure that we set those norms. So just like person, we got to do that. We've got to talk to each other about these pieces. A lot of us are using instant messaging, chat, Jabber, Teams chat, Slack, Discord, whatever to communicate as a team. Some of those things we've become very comfortable with in our personal lives, and making sure that we as a team understand the difference between our work lives and our personal lives is important. Now, sometimes it's fine. So the question you may have to ask your team is, hey, is it okay if we work together, in this chat? This is our work chat right now. But I found some really funny things I want to share with you guys. Is that the environment that we have as a team now? And if it is, should we be doing that here? I'll tell you, I've got lots of different chats going on with lots of different places, and some of those, yeah, it's totally great. We'll share the funny memes, we'll share the cute cat videos, etc. But in others, I don't want that, because I make sure that that's an important channel to me, where if somebody has a question, I want to allow it to be that firefighter question. So I don't want it to pop up with a cat video. I want to make sure that that is truly a productive channel and only about the productivity. Now, it's not to say that having some fun together is not important. It is. So talk to your team. Make sure that you guys all agree that this is how we want our channel to look, that it's okay with everybody in that group that these come across. Do you need to be explicit about your break times? Probably, but maybe not. Like I said earlier, if you tell somebody, hey, I got to go grab another cup of coffee, that can be really vital, because if they text me a question and I'm not responsive, I'm not answering them, they don't know what happened. If I told them, hey, stepping away for 5 minutes, I'll be back in 5, that helps tremendously with that perception. It makes it's just the same as if I was in the room and I got up and walked out the room. They can see that I did that. If I get up and walk out the room and don't come back for 2 hours, they're going to have questions. Same sort of thing's going to happen in your online persona too. So you should probably be explicit. You should be communicating with each other about what this means and why, okay, I do need to step away. We are human beings. It's okay to take a break. I will be back in 10 minutes. I'm going to go take a quick jog down the street and back because I'm going crazy in this room. Okay, that's good. Do it. But set that expectation. Make sure that you're clear with the others so that they understand what the time frame is and what the expectations are that you'll be back, when you will be back at work and working with them. For me, one of the things that one of my teams has done that is a little controversial, I'll admit, but it's working out wonderfully for us. We actually start a video chat first thing in the morning. Just turn it on, I get in, click, join the video chat, it's just me. Same as when I went to the office and I showed up first thing in the morning and I sat down in that room and it was just me. And then as people come in the day, they join in, they click. Oh, hey, Justin, how's it going? Hey, Jake. Hit the mute button and we can just see that we're both in the same room now. And throughout the day, as the team's there, some of us will leave and come, but it gives you that feeling just like you're in that room talking to each other. I have a question, I can quickly hit unmute and say, hey, Justin, do you remember the time? And he'll unmute and we'll have a conversation. And if our friends, our other team members are there in the room, they can either jump in, listen, pay attention, or they can tune us out, just like they did in the room together. Some people that doesn't work well for, but it is something that's been truly helpful for me and my team while we're working remotely. It gives us that feeling again that we are a team, that we're working together, we're in the same space. So here's the guidance that Improving has shared with its people, with our consultants, to help us to make sure that we are doing everything we can to show our productivity. Because as I mentioned, when you're not sitting there face to face, it's a lot harder for people to recognize the fact that you're putting in that effort. Be active, be responsive, talk to people. Make sure that when you get an instant message, you do respond to that instant message in a timely manner. Or you're setting the groundwork that, hey, I am not available right now, so that they recognize that fact. It is a huge driving factor in our perception of work is how quickly people respond. And again, if somebody sends you a message and you don't respond for 20 minutes because your head's down really busy, that's okay. Have you reflected that to them earlier? Are they aware of that fact that you're going to be responding at a regular cadence, that I'm setting aside a Pomodoro timer so that I don't respond until every 25th minute? If you've set that expectation up front, awesome. Make sure you maintain that expectation. Be explicit when you step away. We talked about this. If you're taking a break longer than just a few minutes, talk to the people. Tell them, hey, I'm going to go grab some food. I will be back in an hour. Set it up, set aside, and be back in the time frame that you told them. Again, if you disappear for 8 hours, people are going to be curious. If you don't respond that I am back now, you say, hey, I'm going to step away, go grab lunch. I'll be back in an hour. And then you never respond into that same channel of communication again until the end of the day. Okay, guys, I'm out. Good night. People are going to go, wait, huh? Was that an 8-hour lunch or was it a 1-hour lunch? I don't know. So over communicate. Let them know where you are. Let them know that you are working with them. Be consistent with that schedule. Work your normal workday. I know it's really easy to let that alarm slip, to let your time start to slip and move outward. But try to keep to the same morning. Try to keep to the same afternoon for yourself and your sanity too. When you're at work, dedicate yourself to work. And when you're not at work, dedicate yourself to your personal life. Make sure that you define those boundaries clearly. Talk to each other. Make sure that we're together on this. But if you start to allow those hours to muddy, if you start to allow it to get really confusing when you're going to be working and when you're not, that leads to that perception of loss. People don't recognize that you're busy. They don't know when you're busy, when you're not busy, what you're doing, and they start to wonder about the productivity. Remove as much distraction from your environment as possible. Having a dedicated working space has a significant impact. Now, not all of us can. I understand not everybody can have a special room in their home dedicated to work. I can't. I actually have commandeered the guest bedroom, and that's okay. But guess what? Now it is separate. It is there. Working in the living room with my family running around and my wife, taking care of things, my kids doing their homeschooling now and all of that. It is not a viable way for me to get things done. So having a specialized space that I can work is important to me. And making sure that that space is calm and dedicated is also vital. I do have a TV in the guest room. I cannot run that TV while I'm working. It will totally take me away from being productive. I will get sucked into that. Multitasking isn't an option. So clear those from those distractions. Make sure it feels like a workspace. Make sure it is comfortable but working. Use the highest fidelity communication when possible. So do you recognize this fact? When talking in a video conference, I can see when somebody is listening. I can see that we're actively engaged. I can tell that they're talking back to me. I can tell that they're paying attention to me. If I'm on a phone call, that's good. I can't quite see that we're making eye contact. I can't tell if you're actually taking a walk around the block until I hear the garbage truck go by. And I can't tell if you're trying to do something while we're talking on the phone, but it's still better than a text message, which during that, yeah, there's long pauses, there's breaks. Wait, is he typing? Is he not typing? I don't know. What's going on here? Oh, okay, there's my answer. Okay. So figure out what the highest potential and possible way of communicating is for you and your colleagues, and try to achieve that when necessary. Last and most is email, that asynchronous conversation, that send a message, wait 20, 30 minutes. Did they read it? I don't know. Get that response. That's important sometimes. Sometimes the immediate response is not necessary. Pick the one that's right, but also pick the highest fidelity one for the potential conversation. If there are issues that impact your ability to deliver value to the team, deal with them before you come visible to the team. Make sure that you are actually just like as if you were working in the office with others. If you have a home repair problem, you have something, a health issue or one of those others, you take the PTO. You separate the work from the personal. Make sure that you talk to your team about that too. If you're having internet connectivity issues, you got to take care of those and take care of them when you need to. So I touched a little bit on this earlier, but let's get into it again. What makes the most sense for the communication when we're talking with each other? What can be lost in translation? We've all sent those text messages where somebody thought it was serious, but it was a joke. And they came back later and they were a little bit upset. They didn't work out. It happens to almost everyone. So that's why using voice can be much more, complete. It has that higher fidelity. Video conference, again, much better, higher fidelity. You can definitely tell when somebody's active and engaged. Does it require it all the time? Maybe not. Maybe this question could wait for an hour. If it can, if it's not a vital question, maybe you should defer it down to an email. If you just need an answer in the next few days, send an email. Make sure that you specify that. Hey, I need an answer by end of day tomorrow, but I'm not going to interrupt you right now because it's not that vital. And if I need to interrupt you right now, we're going to move to instant message. Or, ooh, it's really important that I interrupt you and we understand each other directly and there's emotional context to it, we better go to phone or to video chat. There's a rule that we like to talk about around here, the 2 email rule. If I email you once and you respond, and I email a follow-up question and you respond, and I have another one, we probably shouldn't be doing this over email. We better get on the phone. We should talk to each other. It's going to be better if we talk because we're wasting a lot of time back and forth, switching context over and over. Now, I live and die by email too. My calendar and my email are very important to me. So email can be tricky, right? We're getting millions of email messages and a lot of them from people we don't care about as much. I tell you what, after the coronavirus outbreak, I know that Abercrombie and Fitch Kids CEO is very concerned about my health and well-being. I don't care. Thank you, but no thanks. Wingstop is dedicated to their health and safety of their employees and their customers. That's great. Thank you, Wingstop CEO. But I don't need all that in interrupting my day-to-day life. Use filters. Make buckets. Put things, use the tools that you've been given with email to get things where you don't care, the things you care about and are immediate are in front of you, and the things that are less important go somewhere else. Unified inboxes are cool, I've got one, but I don't need my personal emails interrupting my workday time unless it's important. Filter that noise aggressively. There's a trick that Devlin likes to talk about, our president, where he will once a week go through and search his email inbox for the word unsubscribe. That shows all of those marketing emails that you may or may not care about that are coming in. Go through that list, check it out. Click unsubscribe on the ones you don't care about that are just cluttering up and adding noise to your life. I don't care about Abercrombie and Fitch Kids. Here's one too. Lose that electronic leash. When I am at work, my phone is vital. When I'm not at work, it's important. But when I'm having dinner with my kids, that phone is absolutely not important to me. I leave it in the other room. I put it away. I intentionally disconnect and distance myself from that because I need to make sure that I'm spending my time where I meant to spend my time and not being pulled into things otherwise. Now, it's important that that is planned, that I know that I'm no longer at work, that I'm now having dinner with my kids, that I'm now spending time with my wife, that I separate that thing. And I've communicated that clearly with my team. Hey, this is my time. Unless it's vital and important, don't interrupt me. This is what I'm doing. My family is important. They are just as important in my life, if not more. Make sure to respect that. But I need to respect that too. Now I'll tell you, my wife and I, we have very different rules on what text messaging means. For her, when that phone dings, it's important, she knows. But she's very connected with her group of friends, and they do that. For me, I know that if that phone dings, am I sitting with the person that's important to me right now? My wife? Okay, it's not going to be vital right now. Focus on being present with the person you're communicating with. How can we collaborate as a team? I've already talked a little bit about what I have been doing with my team, which is to utilize the video conferencing tool to give that sense of presence as a group so that we know that we're there, we're working together, we're building this together. But there's other tools. We all know that. We can all use Teams, Google Hangouts, there's a million of them, Skype, all of those video conferencing tools, Zoom, use those. Find ways to communicate with each other. Also, make sure that when you're using those tools, you're using them effectively. So right now I set up on Teams an away message for the next 2 hours. Hey, I'm going to be giving a presentation. I am not going to be available. If you message me right now, I'm stepped away. That communicates to all of my team that, hey, it's okay, Jake is busy, and they understand that, setting that communication up front. I don't know which tool you may be using individually, but learn how to use those status messages. Learn how to communicate effectively across those, and when you should be clicking that button to switch to video, clicking that button to make a call, or switch to a different tool altogether. Having an active board. Now this is important to me as a software developer. We have our Scrum board. We utilize that regularly. Now I am of that old school mind. I love to have a physical board with sticky notes on it. That's what I prefer. But today I can't do that. So we utilize Jira, or we utilize Azure DevOps, building that board, making sure there are tasks that can be visible, that can be seen, and utilizing it, making sure that when you do the work, you move the task. If you're doing something that wasn't on that board, make a task. Show that what you're doing is important. Show it. Make sure the board is not set in stone. The board should reflect the reality of what's going on for your team. And be active in your group chat. Talk to each other. Make sure that you are talking about it. Again, make sure that you also utilize it to build that camaraderie. We are a team. We're working together in this. If we're talking about direct productivity, that's important. If we're talking about what else is going on around us, that can be vital too. Oh, wow. I'm sorry. I ran through that end of it, caught up to me a little bit faster than I thought. I'd like to give you guys a little bit of time to ask questions, to talk about if you have specifics within your environment that are challenging you. Send them in the chat here. Michael will read them out and we'll talk a little bit about it.
All right, Jake. What are some best practices around being efficient with multiple communication tools? Like we have Skype, Teams, Jabber, Slack. Not everyone always has each tool available. What do you think we need to do?
That's a very difficult problem to overcome these days. Now, I'll tell you, there's a couple of neat things out there that have helped me personally with that. I work with multiple teams, some of them using Google Chat, some of them using Slack, some of them using Teams like we are right now. There are some tools out there that will actually wrap those into a single place. That's one that I use is called Franz, but I can't remember the other one and I may have to share it later, that will bring all of those communication tools together into one place to help you with that. Again, some of that is making sure that you're working with your colleagues to establish what that looks like. Knowing that this team has to use that tool, okay, I have to make those concessions. I have to make sure that I am available to that team via that tool. It's important to them because they have rules in place around that. But making sure too that I collaborate and I centralize those so that I am able to address things as they come in is important too. Another interesting thing, can you time box it? Can you make sure that you're available here versus there? And you know, if you are truly setting aside your schedule, setting aside your plans up front, maybe you're available throughout different tools at different times. This is things to communicate with your teams about and make sure that you're both on the same page.
Okay, Jake, another question we have is, we've all moved to webcam so that we can see each other in meetings. But we have an employee or two that may be holding out because they're uncomfortable blurring the boundaries between work and home and privacy concerns with the camera.
Yeah, that's a tough one to get over for some folks, and I totally understand. A lot of the tools nowadays do have some filters that'll help with that. One of the, like, we use Microsoft Teams for a lot of ours, and there's a neat little switch you can flip that will actually blur out the background so folks can't see that you've got video game paraphernalia on your wall. In our team, that's a plus, but for some folks, they feel like that's nerve-wracking, etc. Beyond that, making sure it's a safe space for everybody is important. Building that trust. Yes, I love to see the backgrounds in all of my team members' videos, because it gives me some more camaraderie with them. It makes me understand a little bit more about who they are, where they're coming from with this. I can see the beautiful tree in his backyard. Wow, man, that's a great looking tree you've got out there. I bet you spend a lot of time, enjoying that. That's a positive to do, but otherwise, find ways to utilize the tools, utilize the technology. Another one that I've done, I'm very careful about where I position my laptop when I'm in an unfamiliar environment. Make sure that I've set it up, make sure that I understand where it is. But letting folks know that video fidelity is important, that with being able to see your face, being able to see your engagement with this instead of the top of your head looking down at your telephone, that helps me and helps make sure that we're working together.
Another question, Jake, is how often should we manage our calendar, some best practices for taking breaks, walks, going to the restroom, etc.?
So what's your normal day look like? How have you been managing that before when you were there in the office? Should it not be similar? Yes, we are human beings. We have to take breaks. We have to get up. We have to have communication. We have to talk to people and not just about the tasks that have to get done at work. What was your cadence like when you were there, when you were there in the office with those people? Was it a problem then? If not, then why should it be a problem now? Communicate it to them. Tell them, hey, I need to go take a 10-minute break. I'll be back. And then holding yourself to that, being aware of it and doing that, following through, that will make sure that everybody is on that same pace, that we're all comfortable together and that they're okay to do that too. Making sure that you set the boundaries, that, okay, I know that I start my day at this time and I end my day at that time, just like when I was at the office. We can do that here too. Don't let it blur. Make sure though that while you're there, you are dedicated. They understand that you're working with them, that you're not facing those distractions. You're not watching YouTube over there off camera on the side there. That helps you and them understand. I'm at work. I'm getting things done, but I'm also human. I've got to take breaks.
Another question, Jake, is what is the relationship between VPNs and Wi-Fi connections in the household? As in, if I disconnect my VPN when the internet seems slow, will that help overall, even though I may lose some access to VPN resources?
That's going to depend very definitely on the technology being used. That is likely true, that if you disconnect the VPN, you're not going to be traveling through a tunnel to the other system before you access the outside world. Yes, you're also likely going to lose that access. You're going to lose access to certain key resources and important items that you need. So that's a technology specific question that I don't know if I can truly get into in the depth, but maybe you want to time those things too. Maybe, okay, we're going to be doing a video conference right now. We're going to be talking where high fidelity and high bandwidth is important to us. Disconnect the VPN for a while, as long as you can still access the resources. Use the video conference then, and then afterwards, get back on the VPN so you can connect with the rest of the world, or connect with your work resources. Thank you all for taking the time. It is important to look forward, to think about how you are growing, to think about what you're doing as part of this new collaborative environment that we're facing. I hope that you found this useful. I hope that you found it informative for you. And if you do find that you have further questions afterwards, don't hesitate to reach out. We'll be happy to help out. Love to talk with you. Thank you very much.